Everyone, it's Nicole Costa, and for my Children Alike and Different project, I was intrigued to explore how preschool age children are alike and different in the United States and China in terms of their day-to-day activities. I developed this curiosity when I was talking with my sister, who's in high school, who has some foreign exchange students at their school, and they're doing a project that kind of parallels this one, but at the high school level, comparing the two education systems. So I thought it would be interesting to explore where our perception of education begins at the preschool level. First, I'll start by defining how the different countries categorize preschool. According to a comparative study of pre-service education for preschool teachers in the US versus China, one difference was how the two categorized preschool. For China, the first year of school is actually grade 1 rather than kindergarten, and the preschool age is ages 3 to 6. This can cause a little bit of difficulty when comparing education systems only because Chinese scholars often use kindergarten to refer to preschool. Second, I would like to distinguish one major difference in education approaches. Historically, China has been considered a teacher-centered rather than a child-centered classroom. More recently, more prosperous areas in China, like Shanghai, have adopted the child-based activities in their classroom. But prior to 2010, which was the introduction of the education reform in China, a lot of classrooms didn't know how to define creativity. So since this project inspired us to explore our own creativity, I thought it'd be interesting to explore activities in China versus the US and how those activities foster the children's creativity. So in the Massachusetts standards for preschool and kindergarten, there are many objectives for play and learning approaches. One objective states specifically, children will demonstrate creativity in thinking and use of materials. Common suggestions from the Massachusetts Department of Education for this in, say, visual arts could be using Play-Doh, exploring your environment and making collage from things you collect, using different paints with different colors, all things that would foster the children's creativity. In China, I have an example from a book I read called International Perspectives on Early Childhood Education and Care, on how one educator in China thought that she was fostering creativity. The teacher brought in an egg, she cracked it in front of the class and cooked it in front of the class. And then she asked the students in preschool to illustrate it. And the children were illustrating it in solid form or in the fried egg form. But when they started mixing up the color schemes, the teacher went around and corrected them. Rather than just letting the preschool age children's perspective of the egg reflect on the paper. To visually demonstrate free play in the two classrooms, I have this picture from, again, the International Perspectives of Early Childhood Education here that shows children in the class engaging in free play, more specifically here, dramatic play, where they're cooking or working in a restaurant. And I have this real life example of a scrapbook page from my daughter's preschool scrapbook here. And this is her dressing up, playing outside, stuff along those lines, but encourage creativity. Much like the concept of stations here in the classroom we're used to in the US, the Chinese education system refers to this as corner time, where here students are encouraged to interact with their physical environment, where they can go to the block corner or the art corner. One thing I learned is there's no right or wrong take on education. The definition of creativity and how to foster it in the classroom solely relies on the educator's philosophies. Factors that influence education philosophy include culture. Like here in the United States, we could define creativity by the child-based classrooms. But in the Chinese education systems, we can still see some of the teacher-based classrooms. I'd also just encourage you to keep an open mind when dealing with kids and let their perception of things kind of run wild at a young age. Thank you.